Welcome to Just Creative Reviews, where I read books so you don't have to. Today, we're going to be taking a first glance at a book on a hot topic, which is gun control. That book is The War on Guns by John R. Lott. And the premise of the book is arming yourself against gun control lies, as it says right here. So what is a first glance? First glance is where I take a book, I read the synopsis, I do a little bit of research about the author, and then I read the first sentence or paragraph of each chapter and the last sentence or paragraph of each chapter through the book, and then I write down my initial thoughts about what this first glance is. John Lott is an economist. He's a best-selling author on books like Gun Myths, The War on Guns, The Bias Against Guns. From my understanding, he is the person in the Second Amendment community that pulls data and assembles it in a factual form like a book. So the main premise of this book is, as it states, it's arming yourself. So it's giving you information to be able to argue or fight back or defend your position as a Second Amendment advocate. He covers everything from background checks in his findings, why they don't lower mass shootings, all the way up to gun confiscation and using Australia as an example. The book's pretty short. It's only 169 pages long. There's about 20 or 30 pages of notes and there's a couple of appendixes at the very end, which we'll look deeper into in my second glance. He puts a big emphasis in this book, almost in every chapter, even just reading the first couple sentences or paragraphs, and the last, he puts a major emphasis on how gun control advocates and Democrats put false or misleading information or don't pull data from both sides. They're only looking at it through one lens instead of two lenses, and how this can throw off and misconstrue the data. He does use a lot of graphs. So, as an economist, this makes sense because a graph is a good mental picture. At least a couple of the ones I've looked at briefly had links underneath that you could go look up and research the report or finding that he pulled that data from. But I'll be doing my due diligence on that in the second glance, where I go through and look at everything, look at all the graphs. I didn't read the graphs this time. I was just reading words because first glance was less than 30 minutes. It's just supposed to be a quick overview to see if the book is actually worth reading. Does it hold up to the synopsis and the title, or is it like, I don't really care for this. I do like the factual approach. I've read some books on gun control or Second Amendment advocacy now. They get like super emotional. It is a very emotional topic, but also it's really easy to buy into an emotion. What are the facts? Can you give me the facts? Because facts help people make informed decisions, whereas just relying on people's emotion and getting them riled up on whatever your issue is doesn't really help the situation. I will say that there are a few times where he uses hypothetical situations, or there's like questions that I have, because it doesn't really sound like he's answering one of my main questions about gun control, and that is, if it's not effective, what do we need to do in its stead? Because I do believe gun violence is an issue. It's a major issue, and something needs to be done. So you can't really just say, hey, this doesn't work, without also offering an alternative. But again, he might have more theories on that in the second and third glances. So that was my first glance through this book. Hopefully it piqued your interest. If it did, a second glance will be coming. That's a little more in-depth, so it takes me a little bit longer to do, but that should be out in a couple days for this book. Don't forget to like, comment, engage. If there's a book you want me to do a first glance of, comment down below. I do fiction and nonfiction. I'll give anything a first glance. Again, thank you so much for watching, and remember, there is no friend more loyal than a book. At least that's what Ernest Hemingway said.